Well, it's exciting, a bit of a surprise for the coaches anyway, in that we're not down at that end of the building, nor should we be. So we don't know when those ideas come to possibility at that point. Very, very excited about the idea. And then when you go back to the starting point of management preparing for the trade deadline, what they did an incredible job of is as they always do, is recognize what our needs are. We needed a defenseman, a top four defenseman, and then we needed penalty killers. So I know that's an unusual thing to say about Brad Marchand, but he was part of possibly the best tandem for years with he and Patrice Bergeron. He's an elite penalty killer. Clearly, he's a power play guy. He's an offensive guy. He's physical. He's got all the energy. But when you relate it to the specific needs of the Florida Panthers, they're very, very strong face-off man and a penalty killer. Both of them are Stanley Cup winners. So they understand the grind, the importance of every face-off, and the hard details of the games. So it's kind of a credit to Bill and his group. We had some needs coming in. We weren't just adding depth or filling holes. We were addressing where we thought we needed to get better.
How does a move like this just energize an already talented group?
Well, you want to feel everybody understands how hard it is. When you look at all the teams that are fighting for the playoffs right now, a lot of them, their teams are just better. So I'm not sure that anybody got the edge on anybody. Everybody just got better. But you want that hope. I think we had it before. I think we felt, okay, we got to play a little different. We got a little different group here. Our game looks a little different now than it did last year at this time, and that was by design after we learned some things in the first 4 months. So I think there was that positivity, but I think the more connections that you can have in your room, the better. So Brad Marchand comes in here. There's a history with us, with the Florida Panthers, and then he's got a great history because he and Sam Bennett and Simon Reinhart played on a team together and had great success. So there's an instant connection in our room when he comes in. I think that helps. I think those connections are vital when you get it to start the playoffs.
What's it like to coach what could be the most disliked team in the NHL right now?
We love them. I love them. So there's enough love between everybody in South Florida and the coaching staff and management. There's a whole lot. It balances out the hate.
It's fun,
The
right?
love will always win.
And tonight, lineup-wise, are you going to put...
Yeah, Yona's out, and Thomas Nosek's going to go to the right wing. He's played it in Vegas when he was there. He's comfortable there. It's also a great opportunity to see it, just get a feel for a guy in his off position, and then we'll run them as line.
Coach, you obviously talked about the transition Seth has to make coming from the West, and obviously learning the systems defensively. Brad's not going to have as much time, just given the injury. What's his transition going to be like in your mind, and how seamless can it be, just given you both play similar physical styles, and he's in these two conferences?
I think he'll have it picked up off video. He won't even need to get on the ice, but we got enough time with his injury. He'll see it enough. The guys who've played a long time, they'll see enough. They'll have questions, but he'll get enough time that he'll have it captured by the time the playoffs start.
And I know you're always looking for fits, but does the fact that you've seen a little bit of him, at least with Sam Bennett at Four Nations, can that work in any favor for you? Just that you've got a little bit of film from your guys?
Sure, right? Like for sure, that can help. We've got kind of moving parts on 2 left wing positions and 2 right wing positions. There's a couple of pairs that we've been pretty darn consistent with. So, and when you look back to, let's say, Vladimir Tarasenko coming in here, he played with everybody. And maybe we don't have that luxury to do that, but those lines are fluid. And even in a playoff series, you move them around. The veteran players that come in, it's easy for them. They know they've got their game dialed in, so they just play, and then we watch how it looks with the pairing and the group, and we'll make adjustments from there.
I know you're always focused on your own team, but after something as big as the trade deadline, you got to peek your head out, kind of see the lay of the land and how other teams are looking right now for the last 20 games.
Well, you watch it close, and I just feel like all the people that you were going to have to beat to get to where you want to get to got better. You got better, so I'm not sure anything changed. just, I mean, nobody's expected. And the first round is the critical piece to all of it anyway. You're getting a hard opponent no matter what.
Does this move happen if Sam Bennett and doesn't go to Team Canada and maybe?
Well, yes, I think it happens. It's just we're not sure how that room's going
You feel better about it.
Yeah, I don't have to separate them. Yeah, they don't have to dress in different rooms. No, they're good with each other now. They're great with each other now.
Coach, you mentioned yesterday that
I'm not going to leave you.
you mentioned yesterday, obviously you don't want this game to turn into a track meet. When you have a team like Buffalo, who maybe does have a lot of skill, want to focus on being offensive-minded versus you guys wanting to keep a more defensive-minded game, how do you kind of make sure that your style prevails?
So we would have viewed and actually even talked about it before the game, that the Columbus game and the Buffalo game, we thought were going to have some really strong similarities. So I was pleased with our Columbus game because I rate Columbus quite a bit higher than I think possibly other people with their memory of them 2 or 3 years ago. But if you look at their last 20 games, very dynamic up. They score more goals than we do, which means they're dangerous. If they're on it, if you give them the room to play, they're going to outscore you. And we don't want to be in a game where it's who's going to outscore the other team. We don't play a passive defensive game, so we want to be on offense and hanging onto the puck. And we look at the Buffalo Sabres the exact same way. I mean, they put up 5, I believe, on Tampa the other night. They've got the same 20-goal gap in the first differential in the first period. That's a huge number. They put 20 more goals up on the other team in the first period. So the offense is there for them, and they become more dangerous at this time of year. They're not looking at the playoffs. They're looking at next year. Some of their risk changes in the game. We've got some dynamic defensemen that are now up the ice and in the play. They're dangerous to play against. We would say we would like to take our game against Columbus and repeat it.
For you as a coach, I mean, when everybody's healthy, you're going to have 2 guys on the fourth line wing that can play up in the top 6, and you're going to have some guys in the press box that are fully capable of playing on the third line on some teams. I mean, for you as a coach, how is it to just have that many tools to work with going into the playoffs?
Well, I would say first I'd credit the players on becoming those kind of guys, because we have some players that have come in here from other teams that were either in the minors last year that didn't play the full season of NHL or healthy scratches for a considerable chunk of it, and they put themselves in a position to be absolutely regular NHLers, and you're going to need it. Now, I got no interest in talking about a 2-month run. It's got nothing to do with our team. But we have depth that we can survive. And Sam Bennett breaking his finger last year in the first series. I mean, that's an incredible loss for us for 5 games, and we survived it. So the injuries will happen in the playoffs. If you play long enough, you're going to get banged up, and you need that depth.
Looking at the fourth line, so that's Sturm now centering,
Yep.
and do you expect him to play on the PK early on? Obviously, you have so many guys that can kill.
First shift. Yeah, I would ease. So the idea is there's some players that you want to ease in, but I want him to get as many reps with as many different people, because I really like Lundell and Luosterainen. But if you go back to the structure of what we landed last year, and then we added Brad, I'm starting to think about 6 guys that are going to kill, and how can I shave some minutes off Barkov and Reinhart, that Luosterainen and Sturm make a lot of sense. And then at some point, Lundell and Marchand make a lot of sense. You've got Bolquist when one of those other guys takes a penalty. If we're closing a game out, Barkov and Reinhart are going to be all over it, but they have so much experience. They don't need to kill every night. You know, Brad won't be part of the lineup for a while, but I want to make sure that Nico gets as many reps as he can with both Luosterainen and Lundell.
Vitek was the first goalie off, you're telling me?
Correct.
Are we going week to week on Marchand?
Yeah, so he'll come in here and we'll get our doctors to look at him, and we have an understanding of what the injury is. We feel confident in it. Boston had listed him as week to week, so we'll stay with that until we get a look at him, but I'll have a pretty good idea, I would think, by Monday.
Do you plan on taking him on the road trip?
I think that's the way the travel will go, right?
So
I'm not sure if he's staying on the road trip the whole time, but this will all depend on what happens tomorrow and Monday with the doctors, really.
And what are we going to call Jonah, just for technical reasons?
Personal, actually, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's just mom and dad stuff. Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Okay, guys.